Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, June 6th. First thing is approval of the minutes of May 23rd.
Should be May 16th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of May 16th with the editing correction of, or name correction of
Marina
Kachubi, K and K.
Yeah, she did an
I
H
got
instead
it.
of a K. Kachubi instead of Kachubi.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just a finger. Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Move is to approve as corrected.
Aye.
Aye. Distance to the agenda, I have two. One is bridge update with Roger Kane. The second thing is a report about Hammond Beach. Any other additions to
Library planter boxes.
the, okay.
I'll second those additions, if that's appropriate.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications, I have a couple communications. One is I did send Priscilla Pavel a note of thanks to the Cornwall Association for furnishing the town with a new flag, which is flying.
Is that the town flag?
Town flag.
Okay.
Yeah. So they came up with it. Unfortunately, the parade was washed out, but hopefully sometime the sun will come out and will be on display. The second thing, we did get a communication from Ginny Blocker, who's here tonight, from policies for the town of Cornwall based on the ACLU Power 9 rules. She sent it to you, and I sent it along also. And I didn't know if anybody had any comments after reading all this. My initial response is generally for municipalities that have police departments that we don't even have a resident state trooper, so we don't get involved with immigration matters and those kind of things. But I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts. We haven't discussed it as a board.
The only
Jamie's here
times
tonight.
that the town is concerned about someone's residence status would be voting at a town meeting. They may have to show validation that they can vote at a town meeting.
Right?
And if they're hired, then you have to file a, not a W-2, W-9 or something, right, you have to file something. Those are which, one's sort of a federal law that you're supposed to show identification if you hire someone, and the other one is a practice the town has done for ever since there were town meetings, I think.
Right. Well, according to their website, it looked like they were looking at local law enforcement, which we don't have. We rely on the state, so it would seem like we would focus on the state.
That's right.
Troopers
Or
that
municipal police
enforce our
departments.
law around here.
Right. I mean,
Would you say
occasionally I
civil
have assisted
something?
people getting citizenship. I've never been involved with assisting somebody to be deported or whatever else, but I have given people recommendations or substantiated their good behavior to help them become American citizens.
Yeah.
But we don't get involved. We don't detain individuals.
Right.
You know, I assume if there were immigration issues, those would be handled by the state police.
Right.
I don't know, Jenny, I mean, feel free to speak, or we have public
Yeah.
comment also.
I'll
but-
make a comment. I think the basic purpose of this is it's a grassroots effort by ACLU People Power is to assure that communities are following what the governor has sent to both school superintendents and the local and all the law enforcement. And it's not, I think that each town is interpreting differently. I know that in Morris, the first selectman said that he was the top law enforcement official. So I think that the point is to have each town, I think, be aware of and support what the governor has already said. And to recognize, for me, and I'm not an expert in this by any means, but I think one of the important parts is to recognize that there is a difference in a judicial warrant compared to other warrants, and just to have the board be aware that if for some reason, maybe far-fetched, but if ICE or Customs and Border Patrol came and were asking that they have to have a judicial warrant with the exceptions that are noted in the governor's letter, which I gave to you, Gordon. I have another copy if you want it. And what some other towns are doing or checking with the town attorney to see if this might be something that the town board could support. And perhaps there's some other way of wording it so that it would be something that the board feels that they could support the policies of. This is just an initial presentation, and I think it's up to each town to look at it and decide, is there some way that it could be supported.
At the newcomers tea last fall, I said that I felt the town of Cornwall has always been welcoming of new people, and generally the town needs immigrants to fulfill its declining population. And so that's my own personal outlook, but I think this has always been a pretty welcoming town that's been refreshed by waves of new people, and we need more new people, not less. I think, again, I'll be curious what the other board members have to say. I mean, generally we are not, I am technically the chief of police, but that generally is limited to pistol permits and other things that I don't really even like to do anyway. And I have been told by the town attorney that I'm not an attorney or a policeman, and I shouldn't pretend to be one. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts, but
Yeah, so I think that's where it should be left. If a case comes before us that needs to be reviewed by the town attorney, I think it should be
right.
at that point. I mean, you're open to immigrants in town, legal, illegal, any immigrants.
We don't have
we don't have. Are we going to have that discussion
we don't
right
have
now?
that. We don't have we don't have the ability to find out or ask or
Right.
whatever. We're not set up to. That's
Right.
not something we do. And I know the state police has their own protocols too, which seem to be fairly generous as far as turning people over to the federal authorities. Is my own personal experience, but that's not something that is in our jurisdiction or authority. But if it becomes a big issue, we can bring this back up at that time, but I don't see it becoming an issue. I know.
Case by case at this point.
Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing you saying and looking at these rules, I hear that you do support number 5, the don't ask rule, which says you won't inquire into the immigration or citizenship status of an individual.
Like personally or as a board?
As the board.
Yeah, I think the only
In
thing.
what situation?
Well, I mean, I think that the only time the town, the only time that happens is for somebody registered to vote. I think they do have to make a statement that they are a citizen. So there are times, as Richard said, that does become important. I mean, we're we're welcoming, but also we do abide by the rules. So in certain places we do have to find out who's, if people meet the legal requirements.
Yeah.
But it's not something, somebody wants a beach pass, we don't ask for citizenship verification, do we? Or dump stickers, as long as they're living here, they get to participate fully. Any other comments? Thoughts?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being involved. Okay, any other communications?
We had Richard and Bianca actually asked about the West Cornwall pedestrian crossing signs that used to be there that are now
Right.
gone. Now
Yes.
are they coming back?
Right, I did call up, I called up Bunker Hill and asked them what happened to them, and one of the district engineers is supposed to be on top of the signage in this area is looking into it, and I will try to recall them. But they were there. I think they were put up probably 5 years ago, and they're not there anymore. And the people that I talked to didn't know that they were removed or
Where they went and who removed
who
them.
took them. But
Okay,
I will
good.
redouble my efforts to find out what happened to the pedestrian signs.
Check eBay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
They're expensive, those signs.
right. Anything else on communications? Any public comments? Yes, Joanne?
As a member of the Cornwall Association, thank you for your acknowledgement of the flag gift to the town. But I thought you'd also like to know that the other flag that was made is going to be presented to the school on June 14th, which is Flag Day at 2:30. And so the community is invited to that presentation if they'd like to come. And also the nice thing is that the contest that the Cornwall Association sponsored to design a town flag has created a contest at the school to create a school flag,
Oh, cool.
which is nice.
Good.
And I'd also like to note for everybody that through a grant from the Cornwall Foundation, we were able to purchase a new camera, which you see there, and I hope that everybody who's watching the tapes will appreciate the wider angle lens so that all of you are included in the picture now,
Awesome.
not cut off on the edges.
Is that
And
good?
hopefully it's better sound too.
Yes, there's a nice
we-
filter.
We thank the foundation for their support, and it's also enabled us to purchase some, what's it called, Richard?
A 5 terabyte hard drive to store.
Okay, a hard drive, so the history of Cornwall will become digital, and all of that will be kept probably either at the library or the Historical Society on an ongoing basis. And that all tapes can be accessed through links on the website, and we're looking at putting together better and easier access to all tapes for the community.
Right.
Okay.
Was that 2:30 at CCS or 2:15?
2:30.
2:30, okay, thanks.
Okay, any other public comments? All right, so let's get right into bridges with Roger as he's sitting here patiently. He probably has other places he could be. He has some updates for us.
Yes, a busy couple of weeks. I had a meeting with Rick Lynn of the Connecticut COG, right, the Northwest Connecticut COG. And we discussed several items, including our bridge rehabilitation program. I had asked him about the, I'll say $950 grant to the town for the use of one of 3 different engineering firms. I told him that we had selected Leonard, and that we'd be looking to them to come up with a concept plan for Smith Place Bridge. So I talked to Subsequent to that, I talked to Dave Batista, and he developed an estimate which I've looked at, and it is one possible option. There might be more options on that particular bridge. It's an interesting little bridge. We own the property that the bridge is on, but not much more. Dave researched some property lines and so forth. So we'll need to decide which way we want to go with that particular bridge. I'm still an advocate of precast concrete. It doesn't have to be pre-stressed. And he mentioned there were some problems with longitudinal cables in pre-stressed concrete. There are none you can buy off the shelf that are made to a custom length. So we talked about galvanized steel, which is second choice, in my opinion, to precast concrete. But I still think precast concrete, we might go to a design build, which is what we did with the Lower River Road bridge. That becomes a matter of economics, but there's more research to be done on that. But that's the status of the Smith Place Bridge.
Did you find, someone once told me that there was municipal parking in there in front of the meat market? That at one point in time, years and years and years ago, when Mr.
I think
Bate had given a section of that parking lot as municipal parking,
Well,
but
Mr. Bate did transfer to the town a piece of Smith Place, which is what the bridge is on. I believe that had to be done in order for the state to rebuild the bridge after the 55 flood.
somebody told me that there was parking also given at that, at some
I
point
think
in
it
time.
was used in that manner, but I don't know that there's any recorded.
Well, that's what no one. That's what I said. Well, can you show me something?
Right.
Was it ever,
There's no-
well,
yeah.
you know.
Looking at the town land
It was a
records.
temporary, not easement, I'm not sure easement's the right word, a temporary way to get through to get to the houses up above.
But
I
there
don't
is,
know if anybody
the town owns 25 feet or something on the meat market side of the bridge. So you could potentially put in 2 cars there, but you have to keep the rest of it open or else you block the driveway.
Right.
So there's technically municipal parking
Two
for
cars.
the first 2 cars. After that, it's pretty well bunched up, but
Maybe that's
it's true that there is 2 lots on town land that are used. Could be usable.
Here's a copy of what the
maybe
town
that was
actually
like
owns.
back in the day.
Yeah.
So it just goes, it's about 40 feet by 50 feet, something like that.
From
And
the
includes-
edge of the state right away.
Right, exactly.
So
Does that, the 40 feet you're describing include
43
what the
feet.
bridge
on one-
sits on?
Yes, of course.
Parking on the bridge would probably,
Yeah, that
Would
would
be discouraged, right?
Right, there it is. So it's,
Put your pedal bike there.
and this is, as we go underground, there's not much space there. On the Smith Place thing, we had some draft task orders.
Right.
Those aren't the same thing we're talking about as far as the $1,000 from the COG, or this looks
No.
like it's much more expensive.
No,
This-
that should be the $1,000. And as we, at this point, I don't believe we owe Lennar any
Produce any information
um,
on it.
money. The $950 available through the COG to develop that.
This,
there's
Right.
been access this way or
this, so he'll do all this because it doesn't really have a price on it.
No, the next one has the price on it, the one that says draft.
Well, there's one floating around that had a price of $37,000, which was a lot more than 950.
Right, no, the 950 develops the scheme,
The scheme.
right. So that $950 buys about a day's work from one engineer.
So, and he,
That's what
yeah,
he's
this
done.
one has an hourly rate. So what he's going to look at is he's going to look at,
Well, he's not gonna do anything more at this point. This is what he's done for the money that was available in the grant. He's given us an idea
That's
of
his
what he
950.
would do. The 950, right, has essentially been spent developing the draft there that Gordon has. It's, it just is desire to do a design for a pre-stressed, precast concrete deck. And the whole scheme of how to replace it, we talked about how you would remove the existing bridge, how you would put in the new bridge. And all that is in that proposal. Now he's looking for permission to go forward. I'm not quite ready to do that yet. And with what I see there, there's a lot of good preliminary information. But I think we have to decide how we're going to approach it.
But, what we need is an engineer, right?
Well, no, we have an engineer, and talking to Rick Lynn, he does say that MC Squared, Leonard, or Cardinal are all pre-approved and have given, if you will, discounted rates to the towns in the Northwest COG, Council of Governments.
But,
So we could go forward, but I don't have a good feel for how the Board of Selectmen really want to approach the details of this job. I mean, that it needs to be done is, you know, a definite. It's a next priority after Flat Rock Road.
why don't we ask, I mean, if this is the scope of the work, why don't we ask those three firms to come up with a proposal or an RFP on how's the best way to replace that bridge and how much it would cost for their services? I mean, are we, at some point, going beyond this, we're gonna have to spend some serious, I mean, we've already blown our, I mean, we have already spent our, we haven't blown.
$900,
I'm really
right?
confused about what $950 bought us.
Not very much.
Well, no, it bought a fairly detailed proposal. It,
But you could have asked any engineering firm to bring forward a proposal.
well, he
And
did a
they
little
would
more
just
research than that as
Do
far
it,
as.
right? I just don't understand.
What are the options to replace the deck? We're talking about replacing,
The superstructure, right,
Right.
which includes the deck, right? We could,
that's what this, it appears that the problem, the issue is, and that's the solution. And how we go about doing it's the question.
basically,
Or
yes.
what we replace it with.
Right. In my opinion, there are three basic types of superstructure replacement scenarios. One is a pre-stressed, precast concrete deck. That would probably be fairly difficult to design, according to Leonard. They've looked into this, and now they're saying that even at this $3,700 or $37,000, that might not be enough. I talked to Dave Batista again today. If we go with a precast, not pre-stressed, but just a precast deck with hollow tubes in it, we need a superstructure height the same as the existing superstructure that we have there now. If we're going
Right.
to reuse the abutments, reuse the bridge seats, we're going to repair the bridge seats.
Get a copy of this.
So that would be a custom built, but not, it'd be precast but not pre-stressed. And that would just sit in place. That's probably the most,
Pre-stressed, let's see, I'm confused on that.
precast means it's built off-site
Right,
and you put it in place.
right,
Pre-stressed, you get a little more strength, but you actually put cables in it, you pre-stretch the cables, cast the concrete around, then you release the cables. It adds a certain amount of compression to the concrete. It's on a much bigger bridge, it would be much more important, but in this particular bridge, if you remember, the Lower River Road was going to be a precast bridge by Mohawk Northeast.
right.
It turned out that they asked for permission not to do the precast work, but cast it in place, because then they could work on it and finish the guide railing, and they were able to walk on it and drive light equipment on it while it was still curing. So that expedited the work on Lower River Road. So that was a precast design, which ended up a cast in place. This too could be a cast in place. It just takes a little longer
Takes longer.
as far as the curing goes. The advantage of having a precast
But having it pre-stressed is not necessarily required in this situation?
No, it's such a small bridge, and it'd still be designed for all legal loads. So you'd be able to run a concrete mixer across it, or loads of gravel, whatever.
Right.
After it's cured.
Oh yeah, after.
So when you're saying like you could just do light equipment, is that like a car? Somebody drive their car over, or they won't be, people that live there won't be able to drive their car over?
Right, we'd have to have a temporary detour for Smith Place. And Dave Batista looked into that as well.
So he was saying that the bridge, the one that he was discouraged by, was the pre-stressed.
Right, pre-stressed. Yeah.
And didn't think that was necessary, didn't think it was worth the effort.
Well, he didn't think it was worth the additional expense as far as the pre-stressing of the cables. As far as designing, the reinforcement for the deck, you've essentially put in conduits to take up space in the bridge in order to reduce the overall weight of the bridge, what's called the dead load of the bridge. So you have to design those spacers for the concrete around it, put the reinforcing, around it.
Yeah, see, by having it precast somewhere else, putting it in place, the downtime is dramatically reduced.
Exactly, the curing time, which is, in order for concrete to take a good, you can walk on it the next day.
Yeah, a couple of weeks
It takes at least a week to gain essentially 70% of its strength. But in 28 days, it reaches 99.9% of its strength. So it takes a fair amount of time to get the maximum strength out of it. You can do some different things like Mohawk Northeast did. They added more cement to it to make it a high early concrete, which means you have to test it by casting cylinders and do a compressive strength test to see if it has reached its capacity. But those are different possibilities.
Right, but we're not we're still under the thought of having it as a precast and then craning it in place.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's still
So that's essentially the scenario he's come up with here. He's just talking about some other different options. Just like he mentioned using a galvanized steel bridge, which would be very much like what we have,
right.
but we'd still have to then in my opinion, put a concrete deck on it rather than what we have now is a steel, it's called a bridge pan. That bridge pan is just filled with asphalt. And that's really what is deteriorating most rapidly is the steel pan that holds the asphalt.
What about the people that make, like we just have the Flat Rocks bridge being fabricated now by
Right.
a company? Are they available to come out? Because right now, compared to these other bridges we're doing, it would seem like it's less complicated because the abutments are going to be reused or they're in place.
Mhm.
Is it possible to have one of those companies come out and say, we can give you something here? Because it seems like it's much straighter engineering task because we already have the abutments for them to sit on. All we want to do is put something on top, and compared to what we've done in the past, it seems like it's a lot less.
I'd like a little more time to look into it, but I'm thinking that what is probably going to be most economical and most functional for the town is to have a precast concrete structure, and maybe a design build would be the way to go. It would reduce the engineering costs. Wouldn't reduce it, it would just put it in a different.
Right, but it wouldn't cost anything up front to put this out saying, we've got two abutments, what's the best way to span it?
Right.
And then we get proposals back from them using their engineers, or maybe they'll do some preliminary engineering and then they'll charge us
Right.
as part of the project, but we won't, again,
Have to have
go off to spend a lot of money engineers for something that may not be the most practical solution that's out there, especially if we're talking about doing it next construction season. We have time to try that. It wouldn't cost us anything to get RFPs from companies that do this and do it on their schedule.
Right.
I think, but anyway, why don't you, we want to leave it at this point before we're
I just really wanted to bring you up to date as to what I was thinking. I'd like a little more time to come up with some recommendations for, how to go forward with it, but I think a design build and this one, which is very much a custom bridge, we're going to remove the existing bridge, put the new bridge in. I'd like to do it all at the same time.
Right.
So I will work more on that. I did talk to Contact about, they've submitted the shop drawings for
For Flat Rock.
I asked them to send them electronically right to Cardinal. Cardinal has done an initial review. They sent back 3 comments as far as grade goes, but they need a little more time to review the structural strength before they're willing to stamp the plans. So that should be done, they tell me, within a week. And that can be done within a week. Contact says they should be able to deliver the Flat Rock Road Bridge sometime in August.
Would the Contact people come down here and take a look at this Smith Place, or what do they do?
That's not what they do. I've talked to Tom Hennessy about it, and he said, they don't have, it's not that they have these bridges, waiting on a shelf, but they are essentially cookie cutter bridges, and they don't have a cookie cutter for this type of bridge. This is very much a custom, one of a kind type of bridge that would need to be cast in a yard, and then put in place.
Can exact dimensions be determined while the current bridge
Is in use, yes.
is still in place?
Yes, very much so. Also, that would almost have to be done to determine what repairs need to be done to the bridge seat. The bridge seats do need to be repaired, but they look like they're quite functional.
So then on to, with Flat Rocks, we're looking at August
That's
construction time,
right. I contacted Town and Norrell
right?
and told them that try to schedule things so that they're able to do this, that be prepped so that I shouldn't say when Contact can deliver the components sometime in the month of August, they're ready to receive them and put them in place.
Okay, good.
They said they're on it.
And we'll know an exact time.
As it develops.
July,
Well, hopefully it'll be,
Before that.
before the end of
Yeah.
June, right?
before the end of June, yeah. I think it's important to get, we've already had calls, people know what's happening, they want to know when.
Yeah.
That's good.
So right now, we're anticipating August, probably be the end of August by the
Right.
time
Okay.
things get done, but right now things are on track for August.
Good. All right, anything else for us?
No, those are my notes.
Okay, any more questions for Roger? All right, so
I'll keep on trucking.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next, just a quick report about the beach. Met down there with Director Marina Cutcherbay and Jim Bannicky, Highway Department, and the crew spent quite a bit of time cutting back brush, moving some dead trees, and regrading the road. The next project, bringing some gravel in, expanding, reclaiming part of the parking lot that was overgrown. So it's looking good up there. Marina has, we have the swim instructor who's very good. Is returning this year, so that's good. And she has a full group of lifeguards. She's also looking at doing some evening programs up there in the summer for music and some cookout type activities. So she's expanding some of the offerings at the beach. So that seems to be going along all right. The only rough spot is the docks are in pretty rough shape. So I'm gonna start poking around and getting some estimates on placing them probably for next year. because the wood sort of is worn out, so I think it's 15 years old, and that's a lot. Let's see, the library planter boxes, I know Jim has been in touch with the school. We were all set, ready to do that, and then the school apparently didn't have a site ready, is the best of I mean, he looked at it, didn't look like a big job, but the school wasn't ready for that project with the other stuff they had going on.
Yeah, I had
think
just
we're gonna-
asked you about it 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago, and you said, oh, they were gone, the guys shoveled out all the dirt into the truck and they're fine, and then I looked over there yesterday and there they were.
Right, we were all,
What happened with that story?
well, we were all ready to go. I thought it was all set, but the school wasn't ready to take them.
Right,
I thought it
so
was
they'll
all
get
hurry
over
up
there
and be done, and then
eventually.
we were all ready to go, and they had other things going on over there,
Yeah,
so.
that's fine. I just was like, wait, that's not
So
what
they're
I.
available. Meanwhile, there's stuff growing in them, so
There is.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
makes them more pop.
Broccoli and some
Yeah.
herbs.
So we're gonna get moved to
Becomes,
the end of the
it's a
year.
complete kit now, instead of just dirt.
That's right.
Okay, so those are our additions.
Now let's start with the regular agenda.
Park and Rec is covered by item 3. Cornwall Bridge Crosswalk,
Oh, so Park and Rec for
Park-
number 1 has to do with number 3?
yeah,
Okay.
so that's
I know if there
it
was
for
something
Park
else
and Rec.
going on.
Um,
Although they are
They are-
redoing the senior luncheon, which is good, Park and
Right.
Rec.
And I did meet with Jennifer and the Park and Rec Director, Jane Sellery, and I went to Goshen to talk to our counterparts over there about the van and making sure it's available. They're dispatching that out of Goshen Town Hall now to make it the hours a little more flexible than it was before. And
I've seen it around like 2 or 3 times. So
yeah, it's around.
Yeah, it's
Cornwall
moving.
people are
As long
using
as it's
it.
moving.
It's definitely being used.
Does it seem as if the change in dispatching has made a difference?
I'd say, well, it's also happening
Too
in
early.
a better time of year, but I'd say
Right.
it's doing something most days. We're not doing weekends, but most weekdays somebody's using it, either Goshen or Cornwall. Mostly doctor's appointment or therapy, some shopping, and then Jennifer's got some programs, trips lined up, as does Goshen, so we're gonna make both of those available to people in either town. So it is being,
Can that
More
bus
heavily-
cross state lines or does that have to stay in Connecticut?
I wanna say it's
know some of that.
licensed for Connecticut, or the
Yeah.
drivers are licensed. I think in order to, it's not so much the bus, but maybe the drivers may have to have another
That's another thing.
level of certification to cross state lines. So I think for this point, everything we're talking about is in state, but it has gone as far as the Bushnell, doctor's appointments in West Hartford, Danbury, so it is getting outside of Litchfield County. So, and Goshen has been doing a lot of work, and it's good to have the towns working together on it. So that's sort of a Park and Rec report. Cornwall Bridge Crosswalk, you may have seen the counter is in place, and
It's only from one direction, right?
no,
Or down near the,
well, it's in one location. It's
Yeah.
down near Bonnybrook.
yeah, near the.
But it does, I did talk to them, and it's done most of its work, so he's gonna pick it up this week, early next. And he did say he's able to record speeds going both directions.
Yeah, but didn't we want speeds coming down the hill, across the bridge, like around your place, coming from Sharon?
Well, it was,
Wasn't that the concern, that the speeds from each direction was different?
it may be in that location, so apparently we are able to read north and southbound traffic in that one location.
In that
approximately.
location. But
Right,
I thought
but
the
that's where-
concern was the other side. How fast people are coming across the bridge and around that corner where it's hard to see. Wasn't that your concern?
Sure, but I think if we may be able to get the initial information from this one. It's interesting that they can read the speed direction in the 2 different directions.
So
Speed
go-
line depends on where it hits the
There's 2
wire.
cables.
There's 2 cables,
Right.
one north, one south.
Yeah, so I mean, all he's doing is figuring that out in the proximity of where the crosswalk would go.
Right. I mean, it probably would be more ideal if it was.
I mean, I'm sure for
Yeah,
another,
but if you
another
already- you
amount of
already
money.
$500 you could get another
You already
counter.
passed the crosswalk.
Um,
I don't know how helpful that is. But
Well, it's all useful information, I'm sure. It may not be the complete information, but it'll be useful information.
I was just surprised to only see it in one spot. I thought the concern was coming in from each direction.
They're measuring speed and count, both.
Correct.
So,
Just wasn't what I was expecting. So it'll be interesting to hear what that
We'll
says
find out.
for $6,500.
Right, well, I mean, that's, we're getting more than just traffic counts too. I mean, he's doing the engineering on the location
Right.
and things. So next is, I think I forwarded to you the request from Melissa Bronson, who's recently moved to town with her family to join Park and Rec, and there is vacancy on Park and Rec, and Chairman Sanders is enthusiastic about getting more people on the committee. So I would make a motion that we appoint Melissa Bronson to fill that vacancy till the next municipal election.
I'll second that.
Do those kind of commissions, does it matter if you have minority representation on them? Like, do we have to be careful about that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we do.
So, are we still in the proper balance? I don't know what she's registered, so I just don't.
I don't know the answer to that either. But maybe what we can do is we can appoint her pending, finding out whether we're in balance with that. I'm sure it was in the election. So we'll see what it is. I mean, as long as it meets minority requirements,
Right,
then we're fine. If she's an independent or whatever.
right,
Doesn't matter.
right.
Right.
I just
Not that there's many.
don't have
part-
that information, so I don't know.
Right. There's not many partisan issues that.
Oh, I'm
Park and
sure
Rec.
there's not, I'm just wondering.
So you want to amend the motion to include pending if it meets minority requirements?
Yeah, minority representation, sure.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
The rate bill, we have a rate bill based on the budget that was passed at the town meeting and the revenue projections of the Board of Finance. The mill rate for next year is set at 16.12. So we're just supposed to approve this.
What was it last year?
15.2, something like that. Like, you want the real answer, or you want
So
approximate?
we're all up almost one mil?
Yeah, but
Approximately.
most of that increase is based on the results of the revaluation, because property values generally went down. That, I think it was a 5% increase in the mill rate, and 4%, almost 4% of that was on the basis of the revaluation, as opposed to
The decrease in the ground lease.
the decrease in the grand list caused the increase in the mill rate more than it was an increase. The spending was basically, I think, 1% increase or something.
And do we, the Board of Selectmen, have to approve this?
Yes, we have to verify that's the right rate. We can't set it, but we just verify that's what it is. I don't know our constitutional, I mean, we don't set the mill rate for the town,
Right.
but we have to confirm this is it. I think we're sort of like a check and balance on that to make sure we know this is the right amount.
So it's, we're really just stating that they voted on a tax of 16.12 mils. It's
Right.
really just confirming that the Board of Finance really did say this.
Right, and because And that's what they did say at the end of after the
Right.
town, after the town meeting. So do we have, so is that a vote? Is that a?
Yeah, I make a motion to set the mill rate at 16.12.
I'll second.
Do we
Any
sign
more
this?
discussion? Do you want us to sign this, Joyce? Okay.
So all in favor, then?
Oh, aye.
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 Okay.
This is yours.
Any more public comments? Finger pointing from the back row? No? Aye. You want to be on television? That's your chance. YouTube. New camera.
You too can be in.
High definition. Okay. Any more public comment?
Thanks.
Okay,
for
well, thank you all for coming. Now we just pay bills.
Another invigorating.
This video was made possible with a grant from the Cornwall Foundation, distributed by the Cornwall Association.
Thank
That's
you
it.
to both of
Good
them.
night.